How do folks, Buds here. Today I'm going to show you a quick demonstration on how I've been making watch dials using a 30 watts fibre laser and the EasyCAD 2 program. It's taken quite a lot of trial and error to get to this stage, but I've got to a point now where I'm making quite nice watch dials. These are from 0.25mm brass sheet, which is easily available. So the most important thing, I think, when you're setting up to cut brass on your fibre laser is a good steady work surface for the brass to hold in place. Now it's important to keep the brass as flat as possible, obviously, otherwise it'll go out of focus pretty quickly, but also to keep it clamped down to stop it warping. There's a lot of heat generated through this, and it does warp. If it's not clamped down properly, it'll warp and you'll get a really bad finish. So I made up this jig in my lathe, so basically the brass slides through there and it's clamped down, and it acts as a heat sink and also keeps it completely flat as well. So what I'll do is I'll just run you through the process of how I make, or how I cut a watch dial. I've been making hands as well, and it works the same for that. I'm going to fill these with loom. Not sure how. There you go. I made another jig for hands as well, so a little strip of brass through there just for the hands. And right, let's go. So obviously the first thing to do then is make your design. So here's a basic design. Now what you want to do is you want to do all the inner sections first, and then the last thing you want to do is the outer cut. So just highlight the outer ring, and if it's say halfway up the program like that, that means it's not going to be finished last. You want this outer ring finished last. So all you need to do is just drag it down. There we go. And as the machine goes through the process now, that will be the last thing it cuts, which is what you want. So with your jig, like I say, I think it is important to make a jig of some description to hold this brass, otherwise it just warps. I'm trying to do everything a bit left-handed, and so as you can see, I'm just sliding the brass in to where it needs to go. Tweak that down. I'll pre-focus this, so I'll just do a quick trace. So now I can see my lines are within the boundary of the circle. These settings I'm going to show you now for the cutting of the brass I found have worked really well for me. So we'll set this thing off and I'll show you the settings. So we're happy with the trace. We know the circle is the last thing it's going to cut. So off we go. So this setting is what I've found to be a really sort of sweet spot for this brass, and it works well for me. The pieces at the end just fall out. So this is what I've got for 0.25 brass. So I've got a Mach loop of 170. That means each time it'll go 170 times around that one shape. Each shape. Speed, self-explanatory. Power, self-explanatory, and frequency 30. So we've got a speed at 240, power 95, frequency 30. And you'll see when this comes out that it'll just fall out. Well, it's going to be difficult one-handed, but these are ones I've done earlier. So you can see the detail and the size of the stuff it can cut out. It's incredible. These are from, is that right? Hang on. There's little sensor sections. So we'll just move those out of the way. So this dial is going to be multi-layered and have a second part on there, and then a luminous section underneath like this one. So if I can, and all that is another brass piece cut out with some luminous powder glued on top. And then that obviously just shows through when you've got the dial on, if I can grab it. There you go. Back up there. So this is called a sandwich dial. So as you can see, doing these circles, it does so many, and then the light disappears, and that means it's sort of cut through. The light disappears and it maybe carries on for a couple of moments. The last thing to do is cut it out. I'm sorry this is a bit shaky and a bit sort of hands-on. I'm not very good at editing or stitching films together, so you get it in one hit. And you get it how it comes, unfortunately, so it's a bit rough around the edges, but you'll get the idea. So when I first started doing these, I had two big large rings on here, and I placed the brass just on top. And with the heat, especially when I was doing stuff like that, the whole sheet of metal was warping. So it wasn't cutting all the way around. So it is definitely 100% one of the main things is to get your metal flat, clamp down, and you should have no problems at all. And obviously in focus. So that's done now. So we'll whip that out. So as you can see, it's all cut out, and it's just going to be a bit awkward now. What I'm going to have to try and do is put my camera down, and I'll give a quick sand finish over there. Okay. Let's see if I can manage this somehow. See, I told you it was a bit. Just move this and this. I don't know if you can see that. So what I do is with one of those flat sanding blocks, give it a good sand on both sides. Get the most of the dust off. And then see if we can see that. Right, I need to be around there then, don't I? So what we need to do then is just pop out these little pieces. See them just popping out? Sorry, I should have planned this really a bit better and got the camera in a better place. So anyway, you pop all the pieces out, and then you end up with your disc, as I showed you earlier. Re-sand it again, and that's all good to go. It needs a good clean with some methylated spirits or some other cleaning product, and then it's done. Well, I say done. The back, like I said, is just a piece of brass again. What I do is I put a piece of sellotape on the back, or what's it called, electrician's tape. I spray the front with some lacquer, and then I dip it in the powder. Wait till it's dried, blow off the excess, spray it again. Wait till it's dry, blow off the excess, and I keep doing that until I get a fine layer. And eventually, when it's all ready, you can you can glue the two together. So it's quite effective, the sandwich dial. And the black, believe it or not, don't tell anyone, is just stove paint. Spray stove paint, but it comes up really well, and it's really black, and it gives it any light on it, it just kind of deadens the colour because it's so matte. So there you go guys, that's the settings again. 170, 240, 95, 30. This is 0.25mm brass. Remember to keep it clamped down, super flat and in focus, and you shouldn't have any problems. You'll be able to get some really good designs, and of course it doesn't just mean you can do watch faces. You can do any sort of intricate shapes, names, people's names for necklaces, and well, all sorts of stuff, I guess. This is only a 30 watt machine, so if you've got anything bigger you'll need to adjust these slightly. But yeah, there you go. If you've got any questions, pop them down below. I'll try and answer them as best I can. I'm just still learning, but this is at the point I've got now where I'm quite confident in making these things. I'm going to machine myself up a watch at some point. I've done a couple before, but this one I'll be able to machine the case, make the hands and the dial, and do the engraving on the back. So, and I'll be able to, I can make the watch strap as well. So the sort of 95% of the watch I'll be able to make myself, which is be a nice little achievement, I think. So cheers guys. Like I say, if you've got any questions, pop them down below, and I'll try and answer them best I can. Cheers folks, see ya.